Good afternoon from the GoLocal Live Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center here in a snowy, rainy, chilly Providence. I know every week I start out with the weather and I just can't help it. Until I'm back at my pool and coming straight from the pool to here, you're going to have to put up with me complaining about the weather. I'm Rick Simone. Thank you for joining me on The Taste. It is Wednesday. We've got a great lineup, and as promised last week, we're still covering a little bit of Valentine's Day. The guests that I got today are going to help me with both not just an idea of where to dine, but also some gift ideas on what you can do for Valentine's Day. And just as an FYI, today is the 7th. You only have 1 week, which means next week when I'm live, I'll be saying Happy Valentine's Day, but I won't be talking about what you can do for it anymore because it'll be too late at that point. The guest I got joining me today is Chef Joe Simone from a wonderful restaurant called Simone's in Warren. He's got a fantastic last name. I wish I could say he was related because of his culinary talents, but he's not. But I might start calling him my cousin or something after this. We'll see how it all goes. I also have David coming in. David is the chocolate maker, candy maker from the Chocolate Delicacy out in Warwick. Very excited to have him. He's got amazing products. You know how I love to highlight locally shops that you can buy locally from to have there, and he's got some amazing stuff. Beyond Valentine's Day, he's got great gift ideas for things, holidays all year round. So David will be joining me. And then my last guest is a special guest that is visiting Rhode Island today, highlighting her wines. Sophia Thanisch is from the Thanisch Winery in Germany, and the wines there are unbelievable. They've been around for 375 years. So we're going to talk about that history with her. I believe it's 11 generations that her family's been at Thanisch. And it's been 4 generations, if I'm not mistaken, that have been run by women. So it's a really exciting thing to talk about with her. I'm looking forward to tasting her wines, and it's the first time they're available now in Rhode Island. So it's going to be a great time to have her in, and she'll be my final guest to close up the segment. So some ideas on some wines you can purchase. You got ideas for gifts with chocolate. You're going to have ideas with gifts with Chef Joe. Not just dining, but he's got some great things that he's doing there that can make some good gifts as well for Valentine's Day. So to get things rolling, I would like to welcome in Chef Joe, and we'll get started. Chef,
hi Rick.
How are you, sir?
It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you.
He's got the best last name. It's like I said, by the end of this, we might be calling each other family.
I think we're second cousins anyway.
It's something like that.
It's Rhode Island, right?
It's got to be, you know? So, Chef, you have this gem. And one of the things that was just described to me on social media is that somebody said that they thought it was a perfect thing to bring you in for Valentine's Day because they feel your restaurant has all this romantic, ambiance to it. So before we get to this amazing food, which I have to tell you, the aromas are already driving me crazy, is describe Simone's as the restaurant, and then I want to get into, after that, we'll get into a little of your background because you got a fascinating background.
Thanks. Simone's is... First of all, we serve brunch on the weekends, dinner during the week, and when we were designing the restaurant, all I wanted was a barn with a marble counter.
A barn with a marble counter?
And we bought this building on Child Street, did a huge renovation, and what we came up with is very high ceilings, everything is painted dark gray, the light is low, there's a huge white marble counter that one end is the kitchen, and then it makes a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn and becomes our bar. For those of you who know me in my old restaurant, the Sunny Side on Water Street in Warren, I'm very interested in sort of knocking down that barrier between the guest and the cook. And, we're trying to be extremely honest with what we serve and how we serve it. And we have 4 seats right at the counter in front of the Forno where we cook fish and whatnot.
So bird's eye view.
Yeah, and it's a great sort of casual, but you could get dressed up if you want. We like to call ourselves a modern restaurant outside of the city.
How many does the restaurant seat? How many guests?
We have 2 dining rooms. The main dining room seats about 50, and then we have a private dining room separated by yellow barn doors that is called our wine room, and that room will seat up to 35 or 40 for a private party.
So you're getting a good amount of people in there on a
regular
basis. Sure.
Yeah, we could.
And you said the private room gets in about 30, 35 people?
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing to highlight there because it's, while we're talking about Valentine's Day, we want to highlight everything that the chef's got going on. But private events, everybody's always asking me, can you book different places?
Showers,
rehearsal
dinners.
35 people is a good number to be able to do. So when people come in, you said it's very open, very airy. People were telling me that there's like romantic niches throughout the restaurant for them to be able to sit in and enjoy. And as you mentioned, it's like an open air kitchen, but beyond that.
Yeah, it's beyond an open air kitchen because everything is very immediate in the dining room, and we don't have any filters as far as you know, when we talk to each other on behind the line,
Right.
a lot of times if there's not too many guests in there, they can hear exactly what we're saying. We do a lot of sort of catcalling across to favorite guests of ours, you know, and we can see the front door, and so, you know, we're always waving. And
So you've got this on your website, and it goes to what you're talking about here. On Simone's website, when you go to look at it, there's this great video of
Yep.
you and the team interacting and
Yep.
moving and going around, and the guests like almost cheering you on as everything's going on.
it's, yeah, you know, we really are blessed with guests that buy into what we're doing, and our staff is really committed to what our principles and philosophies are, and I'm really proud of everything that we're doing.
So talking about your principles and philosophies, let's talk a little bit about your background. You have a really varied, beautiful
Yeah.
background. So let's talk about this. 'Cause
So I went to Brown, got a degree in Brown in math and economics, and you know, I thought that I was going to go work on Wall Street or become a lawyer or whatever. And you know, I graduated many years ago, middle of the 80s. I became disillusioned with companies, and I decided that I wanted to work in a restaurant. And so I started just to make money while I figured out what the heck I wanted to do. And I got bitten by the bug. I moved to Nantucket in 1986 and worked at the Wawinit Inn for several years there. And then I came back, moved to Boston, worked for Paparazzi, opening up 8 of the Paparazzi restaurants up and
Nice.
down the East Coast.
Nice.
And that turned into a job at a restaurant called Tosca in Hingham, which is part of the Eat Well group. And Ed Kane was a wonderful mentor and boss. And from there, I actually got a part in a TV show on PBS in 1999, and called The Chefs of Cucina Amore. And that sort of changed my life. I quit my job, moved to Nantucket for a 6-week vacation to go back, you know, to a place where I really always felt comfortable, and it was a great place to be. And I ended up cooking 3 dinners for this family, and that turned into a 10-year private chef job. In
Wow.
fact, they're still in my life. I just got back on Sunday from Switzerland, spending time with them at their house
That's
in Switzerland.
fantastic.
Yeah, it was really awesome. They're just the best people. But anyway, so, you know, and while I was at Paparazzi and then at Tosca, I started traveling with the International Olive Oil Association through an organization called Old Ways Preservation and Exchange Trust. And I can't say enough of how much being part of that group changed my life, because I was traveling with famous chefs,
Right.
food writers, through most of the Mediterranean, Italy, Spain, Greece, Turkey, learning real traditional dishes from basically old ladies who speak no English.
Right. So you were immersed in the culture.
Totally, totally. That's what my passion is serving up traditional food and trying to recreate authentic flavors.
So and that's why I wanted to have him highlight this past, is that he's got a well-rounded diversity of groups and places that you've been to.
Yeah.
I mean, from Italy to Greece to Turkey, you just mentioned, and now you were just over in Switzerland. So I
yeah.
mean, you get yourself immersed in these things when you go on something like this. So obviously, your original trips influenced to where you are now. But
Yeah.
when you go to like someplace like Switzerland and you come back to the restaurant, are you bringing some of that back with you, and some of those things evolving into your menus?
You know, the beauty of cooking and working with food is just like anything, is learning new things and being exposed to new products. And you bet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great too, because people, that's fascinating to me.
You know, there's this vinegar that they sell in Switzerland. Krauter means herbs.
Okay.
And it's Krauter vinegar, and it's white wine vinegar that's immersed with Swiss herbs, or that's, you know, marinated with Swiss herbs, that has been now the basis for our salad dressing for the last year. And I don't think I could change it, because people really
People love it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So speaking of what people really love, and talking about getting into Valentine's Day, let's talk about your menu and this beautiful bottle of wine that
Sure.
you brought here that looks
Yeah.
like it might be Italian.
It's Italian.
Yeah, look at
Yeah,
that.
you know, I identify really closely with Italian food. Gavi to
Yeah,
gavi,
me too. How about
traditional
that?
grape, right?
Yep.
Goes with pretty much anything. It's not going to set you back millions of dollars.
No.
And it's a nice.
All right, well, I'll pour this while you talk
Please.
about your food, because
Yeah.
we got to talk about what you brought here today.
So,
Let's go start
baked
with it.
oysters with spinach and Pernod. Walrus and Carpenter oysters, Niagara Pond in South County. Fantastic product. We take spinach and we basically cook the spinach with shallots, a little bit of cream, and add some Pernod. Put it on top of raw oysters, Parmesan cheese, bacon in the oven. These very popular dish.
I can see why.
Yeah. Grilled
That's a
lobster.
great Valentine's Day thing. So that's gonna be available for
Definitely.
Valentine's Day.
This is definitely on our Valentine's menu.
Okay.
Lobster is always on our menu. What it is rubbed with olive oil and herbs, cooked on the wood-burning grill.
Joe, you got to get a look at this
Yeah.
lobster. Look at.
That's 1.5 pound lobster.
That's 1.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's it back in here?
Yeah, that's a little a warm salad of quinoa with wilted escarole and roasted peppers and some mushrooms. So
Beautiful Valentine's
Pretty
Day
good.
color. You know,
Yes.
Lobsters go good for that.
people like lobster on Valentine's Day.
People like lobster all the time.
And then,
What do we got
arguably
here?
our favorite dessert. This is my grandmother's recipe, and can't help but think of my grandmother on Valentine's Day, right?
That's nice.
Butterscotch pudding with whipped cream.
That's butterscotch pudding?
Yeah.
Okay, that won't be here by the time you leave. That will be gone.
Actually, there's a couple of ladies behind the
Oh my
skirt
God.
that are going to arm wrestle you for it.
I'll do it because I got to win something once in a while. I love butterscotch. Cheers,
Cheers.
chef. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I absolutely love gabi. I have to
So
tell
do
you,
I.
one of my favorite Italian varietals. It's absolutely beautiful. Now this is Bastina, huh?
La Battestina.
That's beautiful. So
Thank
I
you.
got to tell you, this would go phenomenal with either of the things that you brought in.
That's what I thought.
So these two things in highlighting, perfect for Valentine's Day. Obviously shows off the seafood style that he has. Talk to us about some of the other things because you got a brunch menu, so I want to hear about that.
So yeah, when we had the Sunny Side, which was a daytime only restaurant, we have received best brunch in Rhode Island for I don't know several years going.
So that
And
influenced
brunch.
you.
Yeah, but the thing is that my sensibilities as a cook are really more Mediterranean and Italian. So what am I doing? Cooking crab cakes and eggs Benedict and stuff like that. Why not? Right? I learned how to make hollandaise sauce in 1986 at the Wall-Weighted Inn, and we make a pretty damn good one, if I do say so myself. So we have poached eggs. Eggs Benedict we serve with shaved prosciutto instead of ham. Because
Nice.
we're an Italian restaurant, we don't have ham in the restaurant.
Yeah.
We make crab cakes with poached eggs. We have something called a Dutch baby. Have you had a Dutch baby?
No.
Rick? Think of a popover that's baked in a wider vessel, and so it rises like a popover.
Okay.
But then it's so wide that there's not enough structure on the sides to support it. So the popover then falls down in the middle, making like a bowl of popover that we then fill with either fruit or stuff like leeks and smoked salmons.
Oh my God.
Yeah, really, really good.
Smoked salmon and fruit. I'd be both of those. I'd be in my glory.
Yeah, they're really good.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Now brunch is Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 2. We may change the hours a little bit, but that's what we're looking at.
But that's awesome. You don't find a lot of places that can do brunch 2 days a week.
No, we do it. We do it. We're committed to that. So we have the best brunch around, I think. And it's busy, and it's boisterous, and it's kind of crazy, and it's a lot of fun.
It's all my kind of places.
Yeah.
So, Chef, you've got this beautiful restaurant in Warren, in an area that's up and coming, and Josh Fenton, the CEO of GoLocal, was mentioning that to you when you came in today, that
Yep.
Warren has been this kind of new hotspot that's coming out there, and you've been there now twice. You had
Yep.
your other restaurant that you had, now this one. But you've also done different things, having brunch 2 days a week, offering the style of food that you're offering, which is not 100% Italian. You're this Mediterranean influence.
And it's a little bit off the way that what most people think of Italian food.
Right.
Yep.
So, but you've also done other things, and I want to kind of talk about this for Valentine's. So, this menu, these great dishes that you're offering, people, this year Valentine's Day falls in the middle of the week. So, people
Yep.
are starting to go out this weekend to the weekend after.
Yep.
So, your Valentine's Day items, will they be available during those times?
What we're doing is we're going to do a prefix menu in addition to our regular dinner menu.
Okay.
That people can choose. And all of those items will be available on a prefix basis because I realize that some people don't want to have 4 courses but so what we're going to do, and we're going to start that on Friday and run it all next week in honor of Valentine's Day.
So, Friday to Friday or Friday to Wednesday?
Probably Friday to Friday or Saturday.
That's awesome. That's
You know,
perfect. So you
we'll
come-
see how the feedback is. We're a small restaurant, and so it's very easy to see what our guests respond well to,
Right.
and
So, talking about what your guests respond well to, and I want to kind of end this as another Valentine's Day idea.
Yeah.
Is I got so much feedback on these amazing cooking classes that you do.
Thank you.
It's like you're talking about you being on PBS and being a star, so this is easy for him. So talk about being on that, but everybody says that it's really an experience to come to these cooking classes that you do.
Thank you, and thanks to all of my awesome students who wrote into you. We have a really good thing going. I'm extremely passionate about what I do, and cooking classes have been a way to they check a couple of different boxes. First of all, the guests that come to our cooking classes get to experience our restaurant on a completely different level.
So,
we don't.
so explain that. How, when they come in, so first of all, how often are the classes offered?
Once or twice a month through the fall and winter. Right now our last class is in the middle of March, and I'm going to add 3, maybe 4 classes from April, beginning of May, maybe even early June. And so the classes are held on Monday nights when the restaurant is closed.
Okay.
The dining room is unset. In fact, the chairs are on top of the tables. It's like we're closed.
Yeah, so it's
We are
like
closed.
coming to a class.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
We set the counter for 20 to 25 people. If we have more than 20, then we seat 4 or 5 people in the kitchen.
Awesome.
Guests come and they get copies of all the recipes. There's a topic for each class.
Okay.
I make all the recipes, and they taste everything, and they also get wine. So
My kind of class.
it's kind of like dinner theater.
I'm okay
or
with this.
Like the ultimate dog and pony show, if that makes sense. But it's really important to me that my guests or my students for the cooking classes leave wanting to cook more food from scratch for their family and their friends, and I do everything in my power to make it easy. Like, you could make this dish 3 days in advance. You can find this product at this store.
So yeah, you go through the ingredients, you go through the whole 9 yards. Do you talk about how you're pairing up the wines? Because like, just an example,
Yes.
I got to highlight that that's an amazing wine to go with.
Agave goes
So-
with everything, and
Yeah.
especially seafood. Yes, we talk about the
Okay.
wine. I give tips on to where that people can buy the wine.
And everybody knows I like wine just a little bit, so this is an important thing to hear about here.
Yeah.
So what was the last topic you did? What was the last one you did?
We did a pasta boot camp.
Pasta boot camp?
Yeah,
Oh my
that
God, I would've
was 2
loved
weeks
that
ago.
one.
Yeah, and that was all dried pasta, and the mother quote unquote Italian sauces, pesto, carbonara,
Yep.
amatriciana. We did aglio olio, and then a recipe for my basic tomato sauce, which takes 15 minutes. You could come home from work, and in the time it takes to make the water boil to cook the pasta, you can make a beautiful fresh tomato sauce. So you never need to buy a can of sauce with all kinds of mysterious ingredients in it ever.
So you made all those sauces that night?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so anybody that's listening, this doesn't need to be a Valentine's Day gift. My birthday's coming up. I'm happy for this. Contact Chef Joe, find out the
Yep.
schedule, know what he's doing, buy these in advance, because it sounds like 20, 25 people, that's a lot of people to have in there, so you're going to fill it
And
quick.
they sell up really,
Yeah.
they sell out. I'm humbled with how quickly the classes sell. But I am going to get 3 new classes at least in the roster. So check out our website.
Perfect.
You can sign up for our email alerts or check out our Facebook page, because that's how I do the announcing.
That's awesome. Well, I will be eating the butterscotch pudding and drinking more of this Gavi after I'm done with all my guests today. But Chef, this was fantastic. Man, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate
thank you
it.
for having me.
Reach out to him now. It sounds like he's celebrating Valentine's Day for almost a solid week. You have a great opportunity to look at the prefix menu, not only this, and then talk about possible gift ideas. So, Chef,
Yeah.
thank you so much for making the time.
Rick, thank
It
you
was
for having me.
excellent having you.
Thank
This
you.
aroma's driving me amazing.
Well, enjoy all that.
Thank
Happy
you.
Valentine's Day
Thank
to
you.
everybody.
Same to you, Chef.
Thank you.
Taylor's going to help you right behind you
Here.
there.
Take that. Thank you very much.
Don't let everybody drink all that on me, Taylor.
Yeah.
I knew Molly said that. That one's the chef's. I'm gonna finish this last sip. So, that was pretty inspiring and talking about the experiences that the chef makes, which is an amazing thing to be able to take part of. Not just in the dining room atmosphere that he talks about, how it's live and open and airy, and if, like I said, if you look at the website, you see in one of his videos there how the guests are actually participating and talking back and forth with the chef while he's making. So thinking about it for Valentine's Day for the whole week of times of celebration, but also those classes. That is an awesome, awesome thing to be able to go into a restaurant when it's closed, sit with the chef or the owner, have a class, go home with the recipes, and not only that, but some wine tips. So it's an impressive thing, and I'm happy to hear about that. So like I said, anybody wants to give me a certificate to go to the cooking classes, I'm all for it, because I love to cook. That being said, let's switch to dessert, and we're going to welcome in Dave. David is from Chocolate Delicacy, which, oh, and he's got some good stuff here. Look at this. Beautiful. Put that there. That's, wow, we'd like more. Everybody's loving more anything chocolate. Bring this guy over here next to me. Actually, can I take him right out of here?
You can take it
All right, I'm gonna do this, Christine. I'm gonna give you that. It'll be easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
That way I'm not knocking plastic the entire time.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so this is what we're gonna do, because we got a lot of great stuff, is we're gonna rotate what we're showing you here on and off
Sounds like a plan.
and move things in. But start with a heart up here. I know that's going to be in there. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Love the hat.
Thank
Look
you.
how festive that is.
Well,
Hearts for Valentine's Day. Did your wife pick that one out for you?
She actually made this one.
She
for
made
me.
that?
She made this for me, yes.
Well, thank you for allowing him to come in today, and thank you for making him the beautiful hat there. That's awesome. So I have to say, I got so much feedback from all of you out there about bringing in chocolate delicacy. A good friend of mine, Sherry, just reminded me that on Thanksgiving she brought me a chocolate turkey, and it came
Oh,
from
yes.
you.
Oh, yeah.
And so she joins us for Thanksgiving every year, and Sherry, thank you for the chocolate turkey, and you reminded me that this is where it came from, so thank you very much. But we got a lot to cover with you, because one of the biggest things that I really liked about this is that in the buying local and supporting local merchants. Now, there's a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great chocolatiers, a lot of great shopping out there, but to know that you have someone that is sourcing these products locally and hand making these. I called him the other day to talk to him about coming on, and he's got a 10-pound bag of chocolate you said you
Yes.
had,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yeah.
So he's on the phone with me, and he's holding chocolate in the other hand. I'm trying to like get him off the phone. So you're really immersed in what you're doing.
Oh, yes.
So I want to talk about a sampling of what you brought here, but I want to talk about how you source the chocolates and how you guys get into it, because you've been doing this for a while now.
You know, I was looking at the calendar, and it's been a little over 25 years, and the funny thing is, I got into the business because my wife signed me up for a one-day candy making course at Rhode Island School of Design.
You're kidding me.
That was
At Rhode Island School of Design.
Rhode Island School of Design. And prior to that, I sold live lobsters about 750,000 pounds per year. So it's a different, it's a twisted career path.
Still
but
culinary, but
you
it's
know,
just definitely twisted.
yeah, but it was a good career path. You know, I smelled pretty good when I go home because, you know.
I said to him when I walked in the studio today, Dave was already here and he was arranging stuff, and I said, "Oh my God, that smells amazing." He's like, "I don't smell anything."
Yeah, it's rough.
So you've been this 20 years,
Yes.
and you guys have been in 2 different spots in Rhode Island.
Actually, 3.
3, okay.
3 different spots. But this is, we made our last move to Apponaug, Warwick, and we love it there.
Everybody says you're in a central location. It's easy to get in and out of the place. And the compliments on your store has been that the store is perfect to manage and move around and see everything.
Yes, yes. And we have a little more space. It's very customer friendly. It's easy to get to from Route 95. It's easy to park. We've got, you know, we usually open 10 to 6, and you know, we make beautiful candy. That's what counts.
So talking about those hours before we get to all this wonderful stuff in front of me here, 10 to 6, is that 7 days a week?
That's 6 days a week, 10 to 6. This Sunday we'll be open 11 to 5.
Okay.
We're usually not open on Sundays, but before a holiday, and Valentine's Day counts as a significant chocolate holiday.
Yes, I
we
would
will
say
be
so.
open. Yes, yes.
All right, so that's important to note because it was already the question I got asked. Are they open every day? So this Sunday, special before Valentine's Day,
Right.
11 to 5. So make sure you're remembering that, Jeff. That asked me. Very important. I don't want you to mess up when you're going to get your chocolates because you ain't blaming it on me.
That's right.
All right, so let's talk about where you get your chocolate from, because you were giving me a little preview and talking about how it's important in people knowing where their ingredients are coming from.
Well, we use our dark chocolate comes from Ecuador. Our milk chocolate is domestically refined, and that comes from Guittard out in California. And they're a smaller, family-owned chocolate refiner, and that's important. Guittard makes a beautiful chocolate. The dark chocolate is from the Republic of Cocoa, and they're from Ecuador. And what makes them interesting is they are direct source. So when we purchase cocoa beans or when we purchase chocolate from them, it's refined from beans that are grown and processed in Ecuador.
Okay.
And the result is an outstanding dark chocolate. 65%, very high cocoa, not a lot of sugar, wonderful flavor.
And that's what and a lot of that comes down to is the percentage of cocoa and really the flavor that comes out of it from when it's sent to you, or it originates
right.
from.
And the quality of the beans.
Right.
Because they're in Ecuador, and Ecuador produces over 65% of the world's finest quality cocoa beans for world consumption.
Right.
They only refine about 3% of the beans grown in the country. So this company that I purchased from is refining the harvest from Ecuador in Ecuador. So they provide local jobs, and they actually pay a bonus to the cocoa farmers
That's fantastic.
and the sugar plantation that supplies the sugars, and even the farmers, the dairy farmers in the Andes, which I also visited, and was very impressed. The quality was outstanding.
So there's a lot of talk, I mean, and not just with chocolates, which is an amazing thing, but a lot of talk about fair trade and fair trade products. So this is another form of that.
It has the same benefits to the growers and the communities that fair trade has. It's a different certification process. And Cocoa Republic is a smaller joint venture in chocolate refining. And their comment was, fair trade was a much more expensive bar for them to lead
Okay.
in terms of qualification. And again,
But this is more specialized with their.
It's a little more specialized, and it's an outstanding quality product.
And you can, believe me, you can just tell. So before we get into all the Valentine's Day and the chocolates, I want to get into kind of an overview. So we talked about where you are now and the type of shop that it is, but you guys are, for lack of better terms, 365-day operation, chocolates going, and it's not just this holiday. You guys are going for Christmas and Thanksgiving
That's
and
right.
Easter and all these different things that are out there.
Yes.
And that's important to me to highlight because we try to emphasize the holiday stuff and again supporting local. And I just mentioned I got the chocolate turkey, which my kids loved. So talk to us about some of the things that you specialize in for year round.
And it's funny because every holiday has its own particular chocolate. So we're coming up on Easter. That for us is a big holiday. And for Easter, it's mostly molded. But for Valentine's Day is unique because we're serving the individual who's looking for something special for someone important in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news about chocolate is, even if you don't really know for sure, you can't go too far wrong.
That's
You're
true.
going to be
That's
okay.
right. That's
You
true.
don't know what the favorite flavor is or flower is. Well, and if you can't get the roses, but with chocolate, you can make a pretty safe bet that you're going to be right. And if you're not sure, you can always ask the people behind the counter because we pack the boxes. If the customer knows that they want a very specific chocolate or they need a particular one, we will pack it for
So
them.
you can customize that packet for
Absolutely,
them.
absolutely.
So in the case of something like this, which is awesome, a traditional heart, but this isn't the heart where you can't see the chocolates that are
Right.
inside. So so let's talk about this one here.
Well, again,
Joe, can you see that, buddy?
This is a classic. So it's a mixed box, and it's an assortment. And again, the classic is a pretty safe bet because there's something in there for everyone.
And this again, they can come in, like you've got the candy hearts up on the top up there that are
We have-
foiled.
yeah.
You've got all dark in here, but if they wanted to, they could put some of the white or some of these other ones that are
Again,
different in
they
there, right?
can if they know they want something in particular, we can put it in the box. Some pieces don't fit. We make a stem cherry cordial
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
rum flavored, and that just will not fit in there. But
So then you gotta get more creative, guys.
right, so if you want a box like this, which is also just a mixed box of really some of the customers' favorites, the butter crunches, the caramels, the sea salt caramels.
That's a sea
Sometimes-
salt caramel?
That's a sea
Oh,
salt
yeah.
caramel. That's a great piece.
Yep.
Very popular right now. But we have them in milk and dark. We have the coconut patties. There are no turtle-like pieces in here, but we have them on the tray.
What's this
So,
white one right there?
That's a white chocolate sea salt caramel.
Oh, okay, so,
piece.
okay, I'll be eating this while he's talking. All right, what else we got?
So when we get to this tray, these are all, except for the foils, which we put on there for a little extra color, these are all pieces that we make at the store. And we have one piece that no one has seen yet, and these are just for Valentine's Day. It's a passion fruit truffle, and it's an unusual piece.
Passion fruit.
Passion fruit. Well, it's a holiday.
I like
I
that.
think it's going to be a good fit.
I do too.
We don't have them in the case yet. These are the first ones off the line, so to speak. So if you want to tell me,
Oh, here we
if
go.
it's
I
good
get to
or
be a
not,
taste
this
tester of chocolate.
This is
This is gonna make a lot of people jealous right here. This one right here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The very first.
Passion fruit, very first one being tested
So
here.
white chocolate center with a fruit, natural fruit. It's got a nice contrast. You can show them the
I might have to have
beautiful
two
color.
just to be
You
sure.
might. I think we have a couple more.
That is absolutely amazing.
That's a good piece. Yeah, I was very happy with it. Took
That-
me a while
okay,
to
so
get it right.
Everybody knows I love white chocolate. People tell me all the time that's not real chocolate, but I still love it. This, and then it's hard to see and a little different because I bought into it. White chocolate in there and the fruit flavor is not, it's delicious. It's like,
Because it's made with passion fruit. That's why.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
that was pretty damn
That's
good.
an excellent piece.
I gotta say that. That was
Was it
pretty,
good,
that was pretty damn good.
Is there any left?
Nope. 2 thumbs up on that chocolate. Molly's gonna bust my chops forever on this.
She'll be okay. We're gonna take.
We'll save some chocolate for you, Molly, but that, if you might want to go stock the case because I'm gonna be telling you, I'm gonna be talking about this for a little while now. Oh my God, that was good.
Now, some of the other pieces very popular. So we make a turtle-like piece, or really a cashew caramel patty, and we source the nuts from Providence, Virginia, and
Oh my
Spanish.
God, I'm not gonna eat dinner tonight. This is gonna be my dinner
Well,
now.
it's nuts and chocolate. It could be a complete.
Nuts and chocolate, that's healthy.
It's a complete protein. So the important thing is I make the caramel from scratch. So we're going to use butter, sugar, cream,
Oh my gosh.
and that's the way it should be. There's no coconut oils or artificial fats. And what we have in there is that, when properly cooked, that's what I eat. And that's, the coconut, the candy makers have their favorites, and mine is caramel.
That,
And
Right there.
And I make a wonderful caramel. It won't break your dental work. It won't threaten your fillings. I haven't lost any.
This one's got caramel on it.
That's a caramel piece.
Okay, I'll be doing this one in just a second. I'm gonna just keep letting him talk because he's doing a great job.
We've got a few more unusual pieces. This is a stem cherry cordial. We make
I'm
them.
gonna hold that one, all right?
Yep,
Let's
now
see.
this one comes with a wet towel advisory because it's a large
A
liquid
wet
center.
towel
Yes,
advisory.
you wanna
Molly,
have
did you hear that?
You wanna have a wet towel under your chin because if you don't get it, it's not a dainty piece.
It's not a dainty piece, so
it's
a
a
wet
large
towel
piece.
advisory. So
If-
gentlemen, if you're eating this, you wanna look
That's
classy.
right, that's right. If you wanna really impress someone, make sure they're wearing a white shirt, don't give them a wet towel because they'll have this large pink maraschino cherry color
I love it.
running down the front of their shirt. But it's a rum cherry cordial. It's a great piece, very wet, very messy to eat.
So
but it
these are
tastes
two different
great.
types of chocolate, though, right?
This one's dark, that one's milk.
Okay.
I haven't dipped the white ones yet, we'll dip those tonight.
Oh my God.
That'll finish.
You
the
just
night.
keep
It's gonna be
going.
okay, all right,
It's all
we'll
right.
keep talking. The sea salt caramels are the most popular. Of all the caramels I sell, that seems to be the in piece of candy the past year or two. We have a nice 9-piece box. You know, if you don't wanna,
This thing is loaded with caramel.
yeah, well, that's,
Oh,
you know,
see?
the caramel's the best part. Sorry,
My
too
God.
late.
Sorry, Molly.
That one's good.
I won't.
There's milk and dark, it's gonna be okay.
Oh my God.
So we've got a 9-piece caramel. That's a nice size, but again, we've got half pounds, pound and a halves. You know, the classic assortment, we go with the basics because although the passion fruit's a little bit of a stretch, you know, you don't see them
good.
everywhere, it's a great tasting piece. There's some things we won't try, but a lot of things we experiment and we're constantly trying to develop the next great piece.
This is still 9 pieces of chocolate in there.
Yeah, it's a nice size. It hides easily in case you have to smuggle it in, so it looks like you're nonchalant.
Fits in my pocket, look at
purchasing.
this.
There you go, so it's very simple.
Oh my God.
We dip a lot of cookies, so we dip the Oreos with the Oreo logos or symbols for Valentine, Oreos.
That's Oreos in there?
Those are Oreos.
Oh my God, I got to get that for the kids. They're gonna love that.
It's a nice piece. I also make a caramel Oreo, it's a great piece, but this one's very popular. So we-
People are telling me that I'm killing them because I can't talk. Sorry guys, I'm getting messages of people saying you're killing me, you can't talk. I'm like, nope, you're right.
Well, you know, it's, again, it's.
I'm loving this.
it's tough
So
to-
these are Oreos.
Those are
So
Oreos.
when you're thinking about not just relationships, kids, right here.
Yes, that's
Kids,
right.
very important.
Yes, that works for the kids. Yeah.
Now this box that we said, so we're under the cherries here. What was in this box?
That's just it's a classic pound and a half. It would look something like the 1 pounder, just a larger scale. So
Gotcha.
a 1 pound box will have between 25 and 30 pieces. The pound and a half is going to have around 45 pieces. So it's a nice size.
And this is, and you guys, can you guys do the wrapping like this?
We
Like
wrap,
down the store?
this is the wrapping paper we bought for the holiday. We try to get something different every couple of years. You know, you buy 500 feet of wrapping paper, you wrap a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
we might have this next year too, but you never know.
So we got 2 more things that we're going to talk about here for chocolate, and then we're going to also talk about the rest of the stuff they carry. But I got to ask, because I'm like dying now, what wine goes good with chocolate?
Okay, so a lot of people are curious of how to pair wines and chocolate. And so what some people say is don't have a wine that's sweeter than the chocolate. And one of the things I warn people about is chocolate, it's a big flavor. It's bold. It takes over everything. You have to have a pretty bold wine to go with it. Now, some people recommend certain whites or rosés. Other people will tell you super Tuscans are the only way to go in.
See,
red.
that's where I would think, because they're
Right.
heavy, they're rich,
They're rich. and
but
they
they're not
can-
sweet.
They're not sweet.
They're drier,
They're,
yeah.
they're drier. And yet some people say a port is perfect with chocolate.
But port's sweet, though.
But port is sweet. But
Yeah.
it's a richer, full flavor.
That's true.
You know, it's a little sweeter. But you're right.
You could do a tawny port, it's lighter. That's not like a ruby port. So tawny's more caramel color, lighter port. But it's still sweet, though.
It,
Okay,
it-
my
it-
recommendation,
it's
listening
a,
to
it's
him,
a tough one.
go with red. Go with red. Save the white for me for later. Go with red when you're doing the chocolates. That's my
That's right.
advice. I think we should go. All right, what is this? This is like,
That is a caramel apple.
oh my gosh.
Now we're gonna move this so we
We
can
gotta
open
bring
it up. So we dip these caramel apples. We've done them for years. And so this one we did about a week ago. So we'll open it up.
Look at that.
So we
Now,
take-
this is the caramel that you're making? The
This is
caramel?
the caramel that I make. So it's a Granny Smith apple. We cut it a few minutes ago, so it started to brown up. a
Joe,
little
can you
bit.
see this good?
But we
Alright.
make these apples, we sell them by weight because we can never make any 2 apples identical. So we sell them by weight.
Ah, okay.
And it's better for the customer. So it's almost like a turtle, but there's, you know, we do them sometimes with nuts. We do them without nuts as well. but there's lots of caramel, so it's really.
The caramel, look at the size of the caramel in there. Look at that.
But again, it's a great caramel, and don't refrigerate it. Just put a little lemon juice in the apple, maybe a little saran wrap over it, because if you refrigerate it, this caramel will get hard.
Really? Okay, so wait a minute. That's a good tip, because I've done this before and messed this up then. So you're saying don't refrigerate it.
Don't refrigerate.
Put a little lemon maybe on the apple.
Just a touch. That'll keep it from browning. But really, think when you serve this apple, cut it like you're cutting a pie.
Huh.
But make it into wedges, and it will keep for a few days. It'll keep for a couple of weeks.
But
if you
like
don't-
basic
if you don't
saran
cut
wrap.
it.
Do the saran wrap
Just
wrap
a
too.
saran wrap to keep it from turning brown and drying out.
That's an
It's
awesome
very
tip. We're getting
popular
wine
piece.
tips. We're getting tips on the apples here. I'm loving
And
this.
again, when you take the chocolates home, don't put them in the fridge. They don't need to be refrigerated. They want room temperature. As long as you keep the house around 72, don't go over 80, your chocolates will be fine.
So there's got to be an exemption to part of that, because I put Thin Mints in the fridge and the Girl Scouts, and damn, those things were good.
Well,
All right, just saying. Now I won't mess up the chocolates because
those
these are
aren't
too
my
good.
chocolates.
No, we don't want to mess up your
No,
chocolates.
you don't want to mess up the chocolates.
So here we got to talk about this, because this is going to be the gift of all gifts for Valentine's Day here. Tell us about this.
Well,
Joe, you got to get this good.
They're chocolate handcuffs.
Chocolate handcuffs.
It's an unusual piece. We consider it our prisoner of love.
Prisoner of
gift.
love.
Yes, that's the way to look at it. We try to keep things very positive, and we think that does well.
Christina and Taylor, you got to get a great picture of this and use prisoner of love, because this is my gift to my wife right here. I'm loving this. Prisoner of love. So, all right, this has got to be a segue into other fun things that you carry. What other fun things do you? Cause you're making this mold and making these chocolates.
Yes, we have the molds, and it's a simple molded chocolate. It's not a tremendous candy making skill to mold chocolate, but it's important to use good chocolate, no matter where you use it.
I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. It's a skill. What you guys are doing, the quality of chocolate you're bringing in, the stuff you're doing, this is a skill. Seriously, this is to be able to do this and make it turn out that good and come up with a catchy name. Come on, this is fantastic.
But again, we make most of what we sell. We don't do the foils. We buy the foils, but the chocolate we use in the foils is as nice a quality as what we use in our own chocolates. We're very picky about that.
I think that's awesome that you're picky, because it's exemplifying how much quality you put into this and how much passion you guys put into the work. So congratulations to you and your wife both for what you're doing and keeping this in the community for us, because it's a giant benefit to everyone. Let's talk about, for the last couple quick minutes here, what are some of the other things that you carry in the store besides the chocolates?
Well, we do carry gummies. We don't make the gummies.
Okay.
It's great for the kids. Not everyone loves chocolate, so we make brittles. We make a peanut brittle.
That was one of the questions
We'll
I
have
had.
we'll have a pistachio brittle the next day or two. I do make a cashew and an almond brittle from time to time. We don't have everything all the time because we're constantly making things. We do run out.
Mhm.
But again, we want best quality, consistent quality, best product forward at all times. So again,
Now, if someone wanted to get some of this stuff for special events, I mean, Valentine's Day, we've just covered out of the water, and it's unbelievable. But for special events, you guys could supply if they called and placed the orders or
Yes.
came in and met with you for a consultation on
Yes.
different things, right?
yes, in fact, for next week, we're going to have chocolate dipped strawberries. Now, chocolate dipped strawberries are a great example. They're really only good the day that we dip them. For Valentine's Day and the Monday and Tuesday before, we will have chocolate covered strawberries.
Okay.
People can order those on our website, and we'll see it and pick them up at the store. We don't ship them because they don't ship well.
Okay.
But if somebody wanted a tray of strawberries for a special event and they gave us 2 days' notice, as long as the strawberries are nice looking berries, we can dip them and have them ready for pickup at the store.
Beautiful.
Other pieces we will order. We can ship our chocolates. You have to understand that we do our best to pack the chocolate so they will ship well, because as we tell people, once the delivery agents are out of sight, they use their feet, not their hands, to move
Right,
things.
that's true.
So we want them, we want this appearance. This is perfect. And if somebody wants to pick up a tray at their store for a special event or a wedding shower or bridal favors or party favors, we can make those.
So, and I have to give you credit for that too on the site, is that your site was so easy to navigate, to go in to check and about ordering. No, but that's a great thing, because it's almost when you get to the site, you notice that, and then you're like, oh wait, I can go to the store too. But
Right.
I got a comment from someone that told me that because they used to go to the store, now they order from you to do it. So I mean, it was very user friendly to be able to go through the site.
Well, again, it's helpful. When we get the orders for strawberries, the first strawberries we do in the morning are for the orders. And they typically get the biggest and the best strawberries first.
Okay.
Because, Those people are giving us the greatest opportunity to select the best items for them.
That's
and,
fantastic.
Strawberries vary. So we're trying to get a nice, consistently delicious piece for everyone.
Well, Dave, you're an awesome candy maker, and congratulations to you and your wife on your success, and thank you for being a good part of Rhode Island. You got a great product. So
Thank you.
very much for coming
Thank
in.
you for
Greatly
having me.
appreciate it. Thank you for making me eat and not talk. That was fantastic. That doesn't happen a lot. All right, so we will be eating some of these again later, and yes, you will see me taking some more pictures, especially of this Prisoner of Love Taylor. We gotta make sure we get that out there. All right,
I'll walk this up.
so that one.
Thank you.
Christine's got the wrapper for this guy right here. All right, I am going to try to clean up a little bit. There you go. Got it?
Yeah.
All right, that put me in a happy, happy chocolate mood, so that was fantastic. Now, as we're getting ready for my next guest, I have to say that you got 7 days, again, talking about restaurant reservations, talking about gift-giving ideas. You got 7 days, people, 7 days till Valentine's Day to make sure that you got some of this stuff ready and good to go. And between his website and going to the store and him being open on a Sunday, you gotta visit Chocolate Delicacy because you got a lot of great opportunity. And man, were they delicious. All right, that being said, it is time to bring in my last guest. Now, we talked about some of the history at the beginning of the show, and I'm anxious to bring her in and talk a little bit more about it. So I welcome in Sophia Thanish of Thanish Wines, and this is her first time in Rhode Island, if I'm correct, so I'm anxious to hear what she thinks of being in Rhode Island and snowy. Hi!
Hello.
How are you?
Good afternoon.
And to you, anybody that
Really
comes in with
well,
bottles,
thank
thank you
you.
for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
It's my very first day in Rhode Island.
Your very first day in Ireland.
Yes.
And you
yeah.
haven't been here before, right?
No, I have not.
So her first time in Rhode Island, and I get her in studio to try her fantastic
Yes.
wines. So I looked through your website and doing some background and some history on you. So before we get into tasting your beautiful wines, I really would love to hear about the history of the vineyard because 11 generations?
Yes, and the history of the estate is even, or the region is even longer. So the Mosel region, where I come from, it's the oldest wine growing region in Germany, and starting with the Romans about 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, and the history of our estate is, of course, not quite as long. It's only from 1636.
Only from 1636.
Yes.
Only.
Okay.
But this has been all in your family since that time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So 11 generations is a long time to think about. And I absolutely want to hear more about the history for it. But from your standpoint, and if I read correctly, there's going to be a next generation. Was it your daughter that I was reading is interested?
Yes. And in fact, the last 4 generations, the estate was in women's hands, starting with my great-grandmother Katharina. And then it was passed on to my grandmother, then my aunt, and now it's my responsibility. And I happen to have 2 children, and they're both girls again.
So that's easy for you. You got to
Yes.
pick one.
And I remember when the second daughter was born, sort of friends said, "Well, we are sorry about this, and the next child will be a boy." And then I said, "Well, he wouldn't fit in our concept."
That's great. So you must have some. I mean, 11 generations is a long time to have a lot of history to understand and
Yes.
document, and your wines and the vineyards and your family. I mean, to have your family that long there, but there's got to be a tremendous sense of pride that you have in not only knowing that you've carried on this family tradition,
Yes.
but also you said the last 4 generations have all been women.
Yes.
And in a time, if you think about it, at least going back a couple generations, it wasn't that common.
And when my great-grandmother was running the estate, it was totally a man's domain,
Right.
running a business anyhow.
And that's not just in
And-
Germany. This is anywhere at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's in Champagne area famous Madame Glucot, the Champagne lady, and she was at that time, or a little earlier, but she was one of the exceptions.
So if we picture Germany, and I've had people reach out to me say that they've traveled and they go to various wine countries in Europe. So if we picture Germany, kind of give us a visual of where you're located and what the vineyard looks like in Germany.
Yes, it is in the very western part of Germany,
Okay.
and very close to France, Luxembourg, Belgium, so in the really western part.
Okay.
Mhm.
And has it been the same amount of land, the same amount of space over the 11 generations, or has the vineyard grown in different ways?
It's always a process of you buy vineyards, and sometimes you sell one, you swap with your neighbors.
Oh, okay.
And these things. It's not very static.
Okay. But for the majority of the time, you've been located in that general area
Yes,
throughout the
exactly.
family. So in your time and growing up with your mother and your grandmother and seeing them do this, have you noticed that the quality and the perceptions, I mean, technology has changed, so the quality of the wines has probably gotten different, but one of the things that I found that I heard on you guys is that you're very fond of your traditions.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we are. We try we try staying very traditional, but also we are open for new things as well. So, but we don't jump on everything new. We are slowly, we are watching what is happening, and we don't like to change very quickly.
So you're grounded in your traditions, but yet you'll allow some newness to come in if it benefits the production and style of your
Yes, yes, and we are very slow and
steady about it.
yes,
That's perfect.
exactly.
I like to hear that because
Yeah.
you don't want to hear that. You know, there's a lot of this in the wine world where people are changing their style and their production methods to meet the consumers, and then the wine quality doesn't
Yes,
stay the
yes.
same.
No, we try to have the same style of wine, very elegant and very. Well, why don't we?
Yeah, just to
taste
try some. We're going to start
something?
tasting it.
It's a very dry
All right.
tasting with you, I have to say.
I am going to love
So,
it.
would you like to taste this one? This is a Tannish Cabinet.
Okay.
This is a off-dry wine. I pour
So
you.
while she's pouring, I have to give a nice shout out to Nat, Brett, Mike Lester, all the great people from MS Walker that keep making it possible for me to bring in these guests, and I greatly appreciate that. And Nat has been tremendous in helping get you here today. And I understand that Coast Guard House in Narragansett is going to be one of the restaurants that's carrying these.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
yes.
I love those guys out
So,
there.
cheers.
Cheers. Welcome to Rhode Island.
Thank you.
Oh my
This
God,
is
that
very,
is
very,
wonderful.
very crisp, very elegant, very, very juicy,
Yeah.
and it has lots of minerality, has a hint of sweetness, but it is so nicely balanced by the sweetness and the acidity and the minerality.
No, it's a beautiful, beautiful one. And like you said, the sweetness isn't overpowering on it at all. How many varietals do you produce at the vineyard?
We just have Riesling because
Okay.
Riesling is the very best grape variety, and in our region, and I think worldwide.
I'm not going to argue with her because right now her wine is absolutely delicious. So I'm not going to argue. So out of the Riesling, how many styles how many styles
Yes,
do you produce?
they're from different vineyards. It's
Okay.
all Riesling, and it's all our wines are estate grown fruit.
That's important.
We don't buy any grapes or grape juice. It's all in our hands from the beginning, from the vineyard to the bottling, and the marketing,
That's fantastic.
and the drinking.
And the drinking, which I'm all right with that as well. So one of the things that I got a funny question on, and I thought it was interesting just to ask, is the bottle shapes. So there's a distinct shape.
This is a classic Mosel bottle. We call it Schlegel.
Schlegel.
Schlegel, yes. It is 0.75 liters,
Okay.
and they're also the Magnum bottles. They have this size, so beautiful, elegant.
Well, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
It's an elegant style. It's
Yes.
it's classic true
Yes,
tradition
yes,
going
yes.
back to German
And
style.
the color is green. It's also tradition.
Okay, I'm going to bring her in because I don't want anybody to miss this. Just slide in
Yes.
over here a little more this way.
Yes,
There we go.
okay.
All right, so that one we
Right.
just tried, right?
Mhm.
Now we're
Now
going to
we're drinking the Bernkasseler Badstube. Next one. Here you are.
Some for you. I can't drink alone.
Sorry?
I can't drink alone. I got to try these.
Yes, yes, yes.
She's got to do
I'm
this all
hurrying.
day, but
I'm
I'm only
drinking,
filling
I'm
up.
drinking with you again. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that is beautiful.
I'm drinking all day.
I know, this is a great day for you.
Yes.
She gets to come to Rhode Island and everybody gets to enjoy these fantastic wines with her. All right, so tell us a little bit more about this one.
Yes, and it's about all of our wines. It is very special that you can drink these wines because they have so little alcohol.
Really?
Yes, so you can start drinking.
She's in great shape, see?
Early in the morning.
And they do in Europe, so I'm okay with that. How do you say cheers in German?
Zum Wohl.
Zum Wohl.
Zum Wohl.
Zum Wohl.
Zum Wohl.
I'm liking this.
And Badstube, it's a vineyard, Bernkastler Badstube. This is an, how do you say, individual vineyard, and
Okay.
this is called Badstube from Bernkastel. Bernkastel is the town I come from.
So if someone was to come visit the region that you're in,
Yes?
can they visit the winery and stop and taste and go through the winery?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they can.
All right, so that's an important thing because I got asked that question, so now you know.
Yes, the wine shop is normally open. I might not have time to do a tour all the
Right.
time, but I can do. And the name Badstube means bathhouse.
Bathhouse.
So this was this vineyard next to a public bathhouse. In the Middle Ages, people didn't have a bathroom, so they went to the public bathhouse, and there they wouldn't just clean themselves, they would also eat and drink and communicate. And today you would go to the country club, and in
That's so
those
funny.
days you went to the public bathhouse.
That's so funny. So a question for you on the production of the wines. How long can this style wine age?
Oh, it depends how much time you have.
Okay. See, I don't have anything that lasts very long, but when I get a special bottle, I always wonder, okay, how long can this age? And whites
Yes.
generally are meant to be.
So good quality wines can age 10 years, 20 years,
Okay.
30 years. From the Bernkastler Doctor, from this wine, we have still bottles from vintage 59 in the cellar. So,
Really?
and they still taste fresh.
That's
And
fantastic.
it's
So from
really-
59.
Yes. It's really amazing. And how long they keep, only has 8% of alcohol, and still it keeps.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is the little bit of sweetness, the acidity, and the minerality which make the wine stay alive for
And
a
it's-
very long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
As you leave the cork in.
There you go. So I have to say, because summertime everybody talks about Rieslings, these are the type of wines you can drink year round, and the like she's talking about, the quality, the minerality, the freshness, and the sweetness. I have to say the sweetness is not overpowering in any way. It's just the right amount, and like it rolls on your tongue almost a
Yes,
little bit.
it's
I'm loving
it's
it.
very crisp and refreshing, and some people don't really like sweet wines, or they say they don't like the sweet wines. But and these wines, all of them, they're not sweet as sweets or biscuits or desserts.
Right.
They have a sweetness of a fruit. So when you think of biting into a fresh apple or in the juicy ripe
point,
peach,
yeah.
this is the flavor you pick up when you have these wines.
That's a really good point.
Now we are ready for a doctor.
Doctor, okay. That's a really good point, thinking about how to style, and I like that analogy. That's fantastic. Beautiful. I'll do this for you. We'll get you a little bit more.
So, yes.
All right. So, Rhode Island today, you guys are out tasting with different restaurants and different wine shops and such.
Mhm.
How many wines are you introducing to Rhode Island? How many different?
There are about six different.
Six different ones,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. We don't have the time to drink them all
Oh,
now.
I know. No. Oh, no. I just want to make sure that I want people to know so that when you start looking for these, that you're aware. Just
Yes, so, cheers again.
Well, that's completely different.
Yes, it is. It is a famous vineyard, Bernkastler Doctor. It's a very, very best Grand Cru vineyard. And you feel it has a lot
Yeah.
more complexity, and it have lots of peachy flavors, and it is very elegant. And
Nice seafood wine.
yes, you can have it with seafood. Last night we had a sort of some mussels and with chorizo, a little
Yeah.
spicy, and with some sweet vegetables, and it was such a nice combination.
I can absolutely see that.
And all these wines, they go so well with anything which is a little sweet, a little spicy, or even a little salty.
No,
even
I can,
a little bitter flavors.
yeah.
And they're all balanced by the sweetness.
No, I can see having this with some salty cheeses too. That's good.
Yes, yes.
No, I
Like you know Roquefort.
Yeah.
Roquefort.
Yep, Roquefort.
These blue cheeses, but also works with Parmesan. Parmesan is also very spicy, has lots of
That's true.
salt,
Yep.
and a salt is a mineral, and so it works with the minerality in the wine.
Perfect.
It's really a perfect
11
combination.
generations. She's got this down pat. All right, so which one did we miss here? We have one left, right?
So we have now another Bernkasseler Doctor, the Auslese quality. I quickly pour it for you.
Yes.
There you go.
So your daughter knows that she's in the running and she's got to start, training behind you for
Yes,
all this,
yes,
right?
and
Right.
she loves food and wine.
That's perfect.
So,
All right, so tell me a little bit about this one.
this is also Bernkasseler Doctor. This is now the Auslese quality. This is one step higher up.
Okay.
And here you have an Auslese, but it's not sweet, sticky. But it is very elegant and
Yeah.
has a hint of a creamy texture. Just
I
a
just
hint.
tasted that on the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you still have fruit-driven flavors, and it's really fascinating. And this wine is very, very rare. We have only 100 cases produced of that wine.
Really? Only 100 cases?
100
I
cases.
got to call MS Walker and get my order in. All right.
Yes, you should, because at
Absolutely.
the estate we don't have any more
Oh,
of
okay.
this wine. Yes.
Nat better be here. I'll be
Yeah.
talking to him before he leaves.
And I must tell you the story of the Bernkasseler
Please.
Doctor. So there was this Archbishop Beaumont II, and he used to have a summer residence in Bernkastel here at the castle.
Yeah.
You see right here. And one day he was very ill, and then the doctors came from the area, and they were bringing different kind of medicine, and but nothing seemed to work. And then there was this wine grower coming with a little barrel under his arm, climbing up to the castle, and said to the Archbishop, "Well, when you drink this wine over a certain period of time, you will regain your health." And the Archbishop drank and drank and drank every day a little bit, as he was told. And then he said, this is, and he regained his health, of course. And then he said, "This is a real doctor who helped me."
I gotta say, I always say wine cures all. Well, thank you so much for coming in. We're happy that you're visiting Rhode Island. Thank you for spending some time with us. We'll make sure that we put a great link out there so you can find where these wines are gonna be, and we'll keep our friends from MS Walker up to date with us. But thank you very much, and
Yes.
congratulations to you and your family
And
on the
thank you
history.
for having me here.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed the tasting with
Thank
you.
you. Me too.
Cheers.
So I'm Rick Simone. Thank you for joining me on the taste today. We had some great guests. You'll see some great pictures, and we'll make sure that we get the information out to you. But I'll see you next week on the taste. Thank you.
Welcome everybody to Go Local Live. It is Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock. News and politics. We are at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Josh Fenton is in for Kate Nagel, who is on assignment breaking a big story. Better be a big story.
Baking.
She's baking and breaking, whatever it takes. Spencer Sullivan's here, top DC consultant, analyst, smart guy. You're on DC TV all the time. I see you.
Happy to be on, thank you.
Yeah, great to have you. Rhode Island native, DC insider. Are you officially an insider?
I still have my 401 number, right? So when I do reach out to people's cell phone out in DC,
Does
I
anyone
have
have
to leave
a
a
202?
voicemail. They do. But I often have to leave a voicemail to say, by the way, this is so and so. Don't mind the 401 phone number. So as long as I obtain the 401 phone number, I still feel like I'm from Rhode Island.
But I gotta tell you, I don't ever see of DC power players anybody have a 202 number because they got their phone somewhere else.
And then you get tagged as a DC insider.
Yeah,
which
that's
is,
right,
in this
No, really,
politics
I'm
never
from
good.
Montana. So Washington is nothing's going on down there.
Boring day.
Boring every day. I swear to God, if Trump left and Pence became president, the New York Times would go out of business in about 30 days because 1 million people would drop their digital subscription. That's how he could take care of news companies. Let's jump into it. The proposal of the day is that we're right here on the street on Way-Bossett Street. The president has proposed a military parade. One could look at it as a great way of honoring our military, veterans, key element of our government and those who keep us safe. The cynical say it's a Russian oligarchy-esque demonstration of military prowess and power. What's your take on the idea?
I can see both ways. I think first and foremost, we have a president here who ran on certain issues, certain promises, and that's being proud of our military, being proud of the men and women who serve in our armed forces. Having a military parade in Washington, D.C. is not the first time that's ever happened. I think the last one was 1991.
Yeah.
So having a parade, we can talk about the cost of that and what that's going to mean in terms of that. But having a parade to honor the men and women in the services, to be proud of our military, but also to project strength across the world, it's not a bad thing. And as much as this pains me to say, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have a parade to honor their team in a day or so, right? There's a reason
They
for
closed
that.
the schools.
Yeah, there's a reason for that, and made sure every pole was nice and Crisco'd. But the parades do serve a purpose. Parades do serve a purpose of being proudful of the men and women, honoring the men and women in our country who do who have.
So you're not quite as cynical. This is
I'm
not
not quite as cynical.
Okay.
I'm very for honoring any chance we can get. I think the men and women in our military deserve to be honored, deserve to be recognized, but also to project the strength to our allies, to our enemies, and to let them know that we're not going to stand down.
Well, the
We
French
do
have
the greatest
military parades, and the British have
Yes.
military parades. Go over to Buckingham Palace. They virtually have a parade twice a day, every day. Let's jump over to some of the other issues. Do we have a budget?
We do. We have. Well, I think before just coming on, with the Senate agreed to terms of a budget. The House passed a agreement last night. Now, what remains to be seen, right? The Senate has to send that bill back to the House and to see if the House is going to agree. What we're going to see here, though, is with the increased discretionary spending, non-military spending, but also with the increased military spending, is Speaker of the House Paul Ryan going to have any problems getting the Freedom Caucus, which can be a pain in the butt, to pass this legislation? Now, with the Freedom Caucus,
Freedom Caucus used to be the Tea Party.
Yes.
Now they've upgraded their name. They've
Upgraded
new
their
branding
name,
done.
rebranding.
Right, it's Exxon, not SO.
So if Paul Ryan loses too many Republican votes, then he's going to have to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi is in the position where she wants the same promise from Paul Ryan that Mitch McConnell gave to Chuck Schumer regarding Dreamers and DACA, right? So we'll see how that unfolds in the next 24 hours or so. But I think what you've really seen here, Josh, is both parties wary of these stopgap measures. They're both wary of having another government shutdown. They're both wary and understanding the handcuffs it puts on the military, but also politically speaking, what it does to hurt their chances in the midterms. We were able to sign off on the budget, stop the stopgap procedures. This budget will pass, will actually increase the debt limit past the midterms, right?
Oh, so this is going to cover the debt ceiling issue as well that was coming up in a couple months.
We will, if this does pass, that will cover that, and that will allow both parties to kind of retreat in their corners, head into
fundraise like crazy,
and focus on the issues they want to focus on.
Does anybody really want to solve DACA, or is it just a great political football for both parties to be able to leverage?
I try not to be a cynic. I want to be a believer, and I want to believe that our elected officials want to solve this issue. This is issues for so many dreamers who came to this country. I do think it's a political football at this point, but I also do think it's a winning issue for both parties if done right. If the Republicans can show that they can govern, if the Republicans can show that they can reach out and expand the party, even better.
Well, there's 690,000 registered dreamers, correct? Is that the number? And President Trump keeps saying that his proposal would cover 1.8, a great expansion of this. Is that correct in what he is proposing? And second of all, couldn't that be a massive win and get the Republicans back in the game, at least incrementally, with Latino voters as being one example of the dreamers? They're not all Latinos, but would get them at least to kind of get a fresh start after all the negativism of the past 2 years under Trump.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt. If we can you can show that we can govern. If we can go back to, I guess we're going to coin this term, compassionate conservatism.
I think George Herbert, George W.
had that term, right?
Yeah.
and use that moving forward, ensure that we can expand the party, expand the Republican base, continue to reach out to voters of all backgrounds, of all races, of all demographics, of all levels of income. It's only going to help grow the Republican Party. But what it comes down to, again, is just making sure, but also understanding the little leverage that the Democrats have. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw in the shutdown.
That was not a win for them.
Yeah, that was kind
They
of a
went
mismanaged by
scrambling
Chuck
back,
Schumer,
yeah.
and then I think they've realized the same mistakes that the Republicans made way back under
Newt Gingrich.
shutdown under President Obama.
Yeah.
Being the
Oh, I was going to go
minority
even
party.
earlier.
even further,
The
right?
Newt Gingrich one was a
Um,
disaster.
So I think there's a combination of things here, but I think if they can all come together, get this deal done, just for the better of for the country, for the Dreamers, for DACA, and then move forward on to the midterms, it's a win-win.
The issue of immigration is somewhat remarkable. I think, and don't hold me to the exact numbers, but I think proportionally this is right. Under Reagan's biggest deportation year, it was around 18,000. Under 3 of Obama's years, 3 consecutive years, I think it was his fifth, sixth, and 7th year, he averaged over 300,000 deportations. Where were moderate Democrats? Where were Democrats? Where were progressives complaining about the Obama administration's massive deportations, far greater than Republicans had ever done before? There just was no conversation about it then.
I think it's a opportunity to point out to what President Trump's doing right now.
Yeah.
I think it's going back to identity politics. I think it's also going back to how both the left and the right, Republicans and Democrats, have reached further back to their own sides of the political spectrum, and going away from any type of bipartisan or moderation going forward. But you're exactly right. There's hypocrisy on that side. There's hypocrisy on both sides. But what we've seen here, though, is illegal, undocumented crossings going way down. We're seeing tougher security stances at the border and moving forward.
These iconic episodes, Sunday night, I believe, after the Super Bowl, there was a case in which a Uber driver and a member of the Indianapolis Colts were hit from behind by a drunk driver who allegedly is an undocumented, has twice been deported. He had 3 times the legal, and the president and others were immediate to seize upon it and jump on it. That's not particularly helpful to the national discussion about this. Is this the level of decay we're just going to be in and wallow in? Is it going to carry through the midterms? Is it going to are we just always going to go one step lower? That one seems Willie Horton-esque.
Yeah, I will say the president's not going to step down from a challenge. The president's has used strong language in the past. Will continue to use strong language. It's the current state of politics.
Yeah.
Do we wish it's the current state of politics? No, but it's where we are. Can we have a national discourse and move things forward? We hope. But I think one of these things here is the technology allows us to have this instant conversation. The technology allows us to point out this unfortunate accident that happened in Indy, not so long ago. So that's a point of it as well. It's just a question of how is this being used as a political football in the midterms, even moving forward.
Let's go to the midterms.
Yeah.
Democrats think they're going to seize the House with a massive number, and historically, at the midterms, the party not in power always seems to do pretty well, especially on the House side. There's usually 40 seats that flip one way or the other. What's your we won't hold it to you throughout the entire season. We won't post it in Vegas.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, give you 6.5 points. But what's your prognostication right here, right now, February 7th, 2018, on where? Let's start with the House, where the midterms are going to go.
So we're about 8.5 months away from the midterms, and that's a lifetime in
Many
politics,
lifetimes,
as you mentioned.
yes.
On the beginning of the year, we saw. I go back to a lot of consultants go back to what's called the generic ballot, right?
Yeah.
Do you prefer a Republican-controlled Congress or a Democrat-controlled Congress? Traditionally, the Democrats have a 4 to 5 point generic advantage on that, right? Usually, in a wave year, the Democrats will get up to a 10 point, 11 point, 12 point advantage on that. In the beginning of this year, it was at 13.5 points of
Record,
Democratic
right?
advantage, right? Scary, real clear politics. Scary, has a lot of Republicans concerned moving forward, but also with the traditional aspects of being a party in power, the midterm year is often against you, benefiting the party out of power, which would be the Democrats in this cycle. But what we have seen recently, and maybe it's the tax reform bill, maybe it's the State of the Union, maybe it's the ability of the president for a week or so to really not step on his own feet.
It might have been a record, right? It might have been 7 consecutive days. Folks in the White House must hope for flu season to hit the building,
we've
things
seen,
like that.
We've seen the generic ballot go down to 6.5 percentage points, Democrat favored.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a lot, but it's not. And in 2016, where the Republicans still controlled the House, got the Senate, that's where it was about. So if their generic ballot stays around 5 to 8 percentage points Democratic favored, I would say a lot of Republicans are going to be more happy with that, comfortable with that, but also understanding the headwinds are still against the Republicans going into the year, and this can swing at any tweet, at any email, at any press conference. And it's going to vary district by district, and the approach down ballot for all these House congressional races is going to vary district by district. How popular is the president, right? How popular or unpopular is Nancy Pelosi in this district? And can
neither one of them are exactly breaking world records. Let me jump over, tied to this on the midterms and on the House. You know, John Della Volpe does polling for us up at Kennedy School at Harvard. And he does a lot of research, primary research on the power of millennials, where millennials are right now. He's got millennials leaning Democrat 2-1 over Republicans, a record that they've ever seen a split on that. My question is, listen, if millennials came out and voted in 16, Hillary Clinton would be president of the United States, hands down. It wouldn't have been close. Do they come out in a midterm election, or is this more smoke and mirror about the activism of younger voters?
Great question. I think it's one of those things where millennials are, so like you just said, one of the largest voting blocks and can really sway elections one way or the other.
Right.
Can they withstand the rage or anger or enthusiasm against President Trump to actually come out and vote in 2018 has been yet to be seen, right? And that's going to vary district by district. I think what you could look at possibly be the 2017 elections in New Jersey or Virginia, not just their governor races, but also their state house races for the assemblies down ballot, and see how that has flipped quite a bit. Again, I think it's going to vary district by district, and what is the enthusiasm factor when you're polling? Right, there's an enthusiasm factor.
Yeah, but I'll argue back on Virginia. I think Virginia and New Jersey have been mischaracterized. Those were historically always Democratic states. Chuck Robb, you name it. I mean, there have been far more Democratic governors in Virginia in the last 40 years than there have been Republicans. It's been a little bit of an aberration, and Chris Christie was an aberration. There was no historic Republican governorship. Tom Keene a gazillion years ago, but since then it's been all Democrats. And Chris Christie had a big win and got very popular, and then was the lowest ranked governor before he left office, maybe of all time. He was down to like a 12% approval rate. So I think those two elections get misconstrued. But in neither case did you see a massive outpouring of millennials. You just saw the Democratic base actually have some activism and get back and say, oh God, we can't let this thing get out of hand.
I would agree, and I would also mention one more thing would be millennials are, me being a millennial myself, notorious for not being loyal to one party or the
Just
other,
so everybody's
right?
listening, that
Not
was a clear
loyal.
shot at ageism. The way he said it, I am a millennium, you're not a millennium.
The millennials are not loyal to their employees, their employers. They're not loyal to a specific party. They're loyal to a specific candidate or issue, right? So I think that's going to vary candidate by candidate. And can candidates, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever you want to call yourself, break out from the party's mold? Because the party mold is not attractive. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. The party mold is not attractive to millennials, to most voters. As a candidate, can you break out of that mold and connect with the millennial voters and have them turn out? I think that's going to be the question.
Neither Nancy Pelosi nor Donald Trump are wonderfully attractive leaders of their relative party. And aren't the Democrats really missing some opportunities? I mean, you looked at the State of the Union address, and Trump had a great speech. I mean, God only knows, I think it's the first time that both the Washington Post and the New York Times had a positive headline about Donald Trump on the same day in the entire last 2.5 years. But more than that, the juxtapositions of looking over at the House leadership sitting there, looking as insider, grade, miserable. You know, I think Trump's somewhat right in saying, you know, you don't look very excited about America when you're sitting there with body language like that. Yeah, I mean, the only thing they didn't do was fall asleep or scream out "liar, liar," like.
We'll save that for Justice Ginsburg.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. She was just up here in Providence and spoke at the temple up on the east side. But, you know, aren't the Democrats really missing an opportunity to put a fresh face on this? And I'm going to pivot just over to the presidential election in 20. Who's the Democratic candidate for president of the United States? Joe Biden's going to be how old?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, who's the guy?
I can't agree.
Or the woman?
Yeah, I can't agree more. As a Republican, we loved seeing Nancy Pelosi as a minority leader. We loved seeing Nancy Pelosi still in leadership,
Right.
Because her name ID is so high, which is important. But also her unfavorability rating in a lot of these districts are so high, which is so important. And she's been an amazing person to fundraise against. She's been an amazing person to run candidates against. So I really do think the Democrats, but also I would say at some point Republicans as well, being fair here, are missing some opportunities to give the next generation of members of Congress on the House side and even on the Senate side. I mean, you tell me that the possible front runner could be Joe Biden, or Chuck Schumer is your best option, or there's no one other than Nancy Pelosi who's been there for years, and I've seen massive losses on the House, on the DCCC, on the Democratic Congressional Armed Committee, just losses down ballot, running, the DNC, all that good stuff. So I totally agree. I think there's a lot of missed opportunity there, but as a Republican, I'm not going to go out of my way to point that out. And I know, and if they want to keep Nancy Pelosi, I'm more than happy for them keeping Nancy Pelosi. That's going to make a lot of other people's jobs easier.
I think they missed a huge opportunity when they had Chris Van Hollen in the leadership in the House, not giving him, at least the 1 or 2 spot and keeping him over there because.
And you also have on the Senate side, not to interrupt, you have Cory Booker, you have Kamala Harris,
right?
So you have people there who are positioning themselves to be in 2020 presidential leader, front runner roles. The problem is once you become leadership, that does often defer you from running for being the party's nominee.
Let's talk about tax reform. It's looking like it's a bigger deal than anyone anticipated. We have Gary Sass on every Monday on Business Monday with me, and he was 60-40 on it. He advises Marco Rubio on fiscal issues. I think you're seeing some trends despite Friday and Monday's stock market, but you're seeing some trends of major corporations doubling down. You just saw Google spend $2 billion in New York. You're looking at Apple building a 5,000 staff campus and pouring in billions of dollars into that. You're seeing bonuses across the board. You're seeing, for the most people, unless you're really a wealthy person in the Northeast, just about everybody else is going to have some incremental benefit of this. Is that enough to start to turn sort of Republican, that sort of year-long crashing and burning into something better? Is that the strategy?
I think that's going to be part of it. I think what you're seeing now is people not only, I think there's a lot of folks before this tax reform was put into place thought that was going to raise taxes on themselves.
Yeah.
But now when they start to open their checks this month in February and January, they start to realize, wait a minute, my paycheck's growing. I'm taking more money home with me.
Right.
The government's taking less. I get to spend more of my own hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing these bonuses, the increase in wages, unemployment at an all-time low, which is going to drive up wages, ideally, in that front. We're seeing a lot of outside money being spent to promote this legislation, because again, as President Obama with Obamacare would tell you, it's not enough to have a good piece of legislation from your point of view.
You got to
need
sell
to be
it
able
all
to
the way
sell it
through.
all the way. And I think in the beginning we had a tough time selling this, but I think we have 6, 8.5 months to sell this, and the more time passes, the more people are going to take home, the more unemployment's going to go down. And I would be wary of President Trump linking him to the stock market. I mean, I think that's a very dangerous choice. But again, you have the stock market on one side and the economy. Those are two different things.
Completely
the economy
different.
is very strong. Volatility in the stock market's going to go up and down, right? And we're hitting record highs. But I think we have enough time to show, but not just show, but have small business owners and
boy, oh
families
boy,
to get
he's
it.
not going to catch a break. As a percentage of the stock market, this didn't rank in the top 20. And yet, it was like 07 was hitting with many many media reports. Correspondingly, we hadn't had any kind of correction since August of 16. That's in the market, I think, fell about 900 points in 2 or 3 days, but the market was at 1,600. It wasn't at 25,000. I mean, it was at 16,000, not 25,000. So the 1,100 doesn't feel good. You know, for super rich guys like you, that's real money. I mean, what'd you lose in your portfolio? Like $2-3 million when the market swings 1,100
I
points?
think what else we're also seeing here, though, is years ago we had all these pensions short funded.
Yeah,
We're not
that's right.
seeing that anymore, right? I mean, we're seeing these pensions being funded
Except
because
for in Rhode Island, and where they're all short funded. We've got that down to it. If there's one thing we're good at in Rhode Island, is short funding our municipal and state. Let's go to Rhode Island. I know it's not your. I mean, listen, you're from here. You know the play. You've worked on some campaigns here. What is this race looking for in Rhode Island coming up? And let's talk governor's race. You keep an eye on it. A couple non-surprises. Gina Raimondo raised $570,000 for the fourth quarter. Not a surprise.
Coming from New York or
New York, California, the Katzenbergs, you name it. If you're fabulously wealthy and beautiful, you love Gina Raimondo. Alan Fung raised a decent, credible 175. Patricia Morgan, who in the third quarter had put together about $100,000, dropped down to $29,000. And then looming out there is Lincoln Chafee, who has access to as much money as one could ever need, literally as much money ever need. What's your take on it? And same thing, this is not going up on the Vegas board. We're not going to give you any points or take any points, but what's your handicapping on this race?
I think it's tough. I think obviously any Republican or independent is going to probably be underfunded compared to Governor Raimondo.
Right.
It's a question: can Governor Raimondo delay any blunders or stop any blunders coming forward, and try to sell what she's been going on in that front?
I mean, she is stuck. Della Volpe's poll, Morning Consult came out with their quarterly on the governor's races. She is stuck. Private polls that we've seen, she's stuck in the 38 to 42% approval rates, and that's pretty rock solid. She won the Democratic primary 3 years ago at 40%. She won the general at 42%. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think she's moved a long way since that first bite at the apple.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think, again, it comes down to the environment, not only the statewide environment, but the national environment when that comes down. And, Fung did get relatively close last time. Can he come back up and fundraise? His weakest link has always been fundraising, right? So can he fundraise and get the message out and go that way? That's been yet to be seen.
So you're not putting dollars on the table.
I'm not putting any dollars on that.
Let's go to the United States Senate race. Sheldon Whitehouse has a tidy sum of money, $2.8 million. Bob Flanders has about $400,000. Not bad for a quarter and a half in for a Republican in Rhode Island. Can he get that race competitive enough on some polls that allows him to tap into Republican senatorial money?
It's going to be very tough, because the Republicans although nationally the Republicans have an offensive map saying that the Democrats have to defend a lot more seats that Trump won than Clinton won, so the Democrats have to defend a lot more seats,
especially on the Senate.
On the Senate side,
which
puts the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the NRSC, in an offensive structure. But in this environment, in this cycle, which we've yet to be seen, they might have to put more money into defending some seats, also winning over some of those close toss-up seats, to actually tap into a race like this. I mean, I feel like if it does happen, it's going to be a late-breaking race.
Yeah.
So maybe a race that we saw with Senator Ron Johnson in Wisconsin in 2016, which everyone abandoned him over the summer. And then we saw in September and October, the final weeks of October, the National Party came in and dumped a whole bunch of money in. So it's going to have to be a late-breaking race for that to happen. If it does happen, great, but he's on his own until that point.
I want to thank you for coming in. As always, it's great insight. We got to get you on a regular beat. But you're famous down there in D.C. You're on this one and that one and Fox and you name it. Anything I missed to ask you?
What am I doing when I'm here, right? I've had
Yeah, what are you doing
24
when you-
hours
yeah.
in the state. I'm a North Cumberland boy, so I love Jay's Deli.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap up Cumberland House pizza, which by the way I'm not getting paid by these guys to say this. But I can't.
Somebody's eating for free.
I can't come to the state and not eat chops or Jay's Deli. But I appreciate the time, and I always appreciate being on.
That's great. Stay right here. We're going to be right back in 1 minute at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. We're going to take about a 30-second break. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody, to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Josh Fenton. We're in the News and Politics Hour, and we're rocking and rolling. Ray, you're running an interesting group doing some really important work.
Yes, I'm Ray Pouliot from Learning First Alliance Rhode Island. We're an educational coalition in Rhode Island. We have 12 members of different educational groups, including the Principals Association, teacher unions, and right now we've working with Sandy Hook Promise, which probably a lot of people have heard the name Newtown Elementary School, but
Absolutely.
may not be aware of what Sandy Hook Promise is. So I can fill you in on that in a moment or so. But they have a program they started a few years ago called Start With Hello. And it's basically to be used by educators, but it can also be used by community groups.
Right.
And the purpose of that is for, well, let's say an elementary school student, is that understanding that people should be included and not excluded.
Right.
So they have three basic tenets of this. It says the first one is see someone alone, reach out and do something, and that is start with hello. So it can be very powerful. We actually commissioned a group, PR group, Checkmate, down in East Greenwich. And with what we wanted in their technology, we developed a 60-second video that is currently on our website, www.lfari.org.
We'll link to everything too when we put this up, so don't.
Oh, okay.
We'll make sure everybody gets the
Fine.
message.
Fine. But that's right now being shared right through Facebook, and we've had 4,000 or 5,000 shares on that.
That's great. And you're trying to really connect, everyone within schools to each other, to diminish those, knock down those walls, get people connected, not, encourage people who are isolated in schools to being a part of the community.
Yes. And if you, I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 35 years in East Greenwich. And one of the things, to just give you a quick example, you go into the lunchroom and you would see a student or two students at separate tables, and they'd be all by themselves. And it would be great if one of their contemporaries went up to them and said, "How you doing?"
Yeah, right.
And what this program does, which is free by the way, anyone, any educator can sign up at sandyhookpromise.org and get the materials downloaded. And if we're in Connecticut, where they're located, western corner of Connecticut, trainings is available for people.
We've had one of the moms on from Sandy Hook, one of the parents of one of the children who died.
Nicole?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Molly had done the interview with her, and when you look at the profile of those who do these mass shootings in schools.
Right.
The one element that's always consistent, one is they're usually boys, and two is that they've been isolated throughout their
Right.
educational career, whether it's by their own choice or by their peers, but that's really what has had a tendency to build up over numerous years of education.
Right, and what this program does is try to knock those walls down in a sense and encourage anywhere from a young elementary student to a high school student, or even, again, as I mentioned, community groups, to include people, And I even, when we had an event on November 1st at East Providence High School, and one of the things I told the audience made up of educators that I look at this as not just being for elementary or high school students, but adults.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many times on your job or different situations, you will see someone all by themselves, and sometimes it just takes sit down next to them and strike up a conversation. You don't have to marry them in a sense,
Yeah,
but
right.
just kind of be friendly. And if you make the first effort and it doesn't work, well, what do you got to lose?
Are they seeing any results? Have they seen any in the schools that they've gone into? Are they starting to get some data of how these strategies improve things and connect people and improve perceptions amongst families and students yet?
Right. I'm not sure if they have any data for that right now. This has only been a couple of years that I'm doing it. This is our group, Learning First Alliance Rhode Island. We've done other activities before. We've been around since 2007. And one of the things we decided to do, we've done technology conferences and professional development training for educators. And this, actually, we started last year to see if we can get this implemented into the schools. And the idea of not forcing people to do anything.
Right.
This is just
Your
something
tools,
to
encourage them.
Right, it's a tool, and if you want to use it, use it. If you don't have the time and can't fit it into your school schedule, then you don't do it. Maybe look at it next year.
How's that effort been going? Have the school departments embraced it? Have some, I know a lot of schools, public school systems are like, we've got so many mandates from the state, we've got mandates to do this and mandates to do that. This is obviously not a mandate, it's a voluntary effort.
Right.
But do they see the value of it, and are they starting to embrace it?
Yes, I would give you an example. Right now, where there are 6 schools in East Greenwich, and all of them are doing something this week.
That's right.
Would start with hello, and including, I just got an email earlier today from Brad, who's at Checkmate, and the kindergarten teacher that his daughter has. She's sent a letter home talking about it and included a link to our video. Video is 60 seconds, and it is, everybody I've talked to who's seen it, they get emotional about it.
Yeah.
Because there are kids who basically just say hello.
Yeah.
And you see the difference in, you see the other kid, the recipient, just smiling, and it's very powerful for a 60-second little piece. But that's that school system. We know last year in Cranston, they had a Cranston guidance counselor who involved most of the school district. And I know in North Smithfield they've been doing things with it.
That's great.
Again, this is the first year we're really trying to promote it. As I said earlier, I used to talk to people about Sandy Hook Promise, and many people didn't even know what it is, what it was. And so that was one of the barriers, and now let's start with hello. But that's not the only program they have.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think most people, especially parents, know exactly literally where they were when they heard of the Newtown shooting, in which 20-something kindergartens or first graders?
26, yeah.
26 first graders, were they?
Yes.
Were shot, and 8 staff members, 6 or 8 staff members were killed by a lone shooter, a young man with numerous issues, and the track record, the profile of him had been that he had been isolated in lots of ways, not only at school, but in all facets of his family and his social being across the board. And what I like about this is it's so simple and so easy to implement. Of just that first step is completely easy. Maybe folks here will start saying hello to me in the morning, and
say hello back.
Yeah,
or say hello first.
Yeah, that's right. And in certain countries you go into, and you walk down a city street, people just say hello to
Yes,
you.
yes.
That's not a big thing here in the Northeast, that people say hello to each other while walking down the street. But
Usually you say it and you get a look.
Yeah, right.
Like, what's the matter with you?
So maybe we can break down some of those things. Keep us informed about this. We're happy to promote this any possible way. I think it's a great program, super simple, totally implementable, and maybe we can shame some
Shame
of these
people into doing
some of
it.
these other school departments into doing it. Congratulations on the good work.
Thank you. I
And,
just have one other.
Please.
Okay. Again, I mentioned Learning First Alliance Rhode Island. The website will be put in later.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that'll go out
And
to
that's,
everybody.
people can go on there and get information about the program and also the video, if you haven't seen it on Facebook yet. But they also have another program, and I think they have a very powerful video that they developed.
Yeah.
Sandy Hook did. And it's, their other program is called Say Something. And they've set a week aside in October to do that. With Allen, that's usually our testing week.
Yeah.
Around that time. But that one has a very powerful video that I recommend people go to their website and look at that one. That's under Say Something. It's very, very,
Rhode Island's been amazingly blessed to not have had a significant school shooting. It certainly had some school incidents, but it hasn't had what other states have seen. And in some cases, some states have seen multiple
Yes.
shootings, which are just as heartbreaking can be. So really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and let's keep having you on a regular basis and keep getting the message out there.
that'd be great.
Stay right
Thank
here.
you.
We're going to thank everybody. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a look into the issue of the Board of Licenses in the City of Providence and all the related crime and issues that are tied to the nightclub industry here in Providence. It's a problem that just doesn't seem to go away. We're going to be right back in about 30 seconds. Thanks so much. Welcome back, everybody. We are in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. My name's Josh Fenton. I am in for Kate Nagel, who's on assignment. And we've got an interesting peek at the issue of the nightclub industry here in Providence. And tied to it is the issues tied to the Board of Licenses. GoLocal's reported on it endlessly, as so has other news organizations, about the violence, the crime, and really the issues related to the lack of enforcement. Sharon Steele's here, a noted real estate expert, but also head of the Jewelry District Association here in Providence. And this issue's just it's not going away, despite all the reporting, despite all the
Correct.
clear cases of malfeasance,
Correct.
despite the closures, the
Correct.
violence, and what's the fundamental problem here?
The fundamental problem is personnel.
Personnel where?
In the city, It starts at the Board of Licenses with the commissioners.
Yeah.
It obviously involves the city solicitor's office and the assistant city solicitors who are there to represent Providence.
Right.
And then we have a board council who is there to represent the commissioners.
Right.
And it goes on and on and on. But, you know, obviously from an administrative standpoint, it starts with the license administrator.
So talk a little bit about that. I mean, you know, we've seen this. This has been an ongoing problem. I'm not sure, you know, it's been worse. I don't know if it's getting more attention, but it seems like it's gotten worse in the past couple of years. And also, clear things that just didn't seem to be good ideas seem to get initial approval. Penthouse was one of those
That was a good one.
facilities. It's a story we broke. You could just, none of it made any sense. Didn't make sense what the facility, what the plan was, what the type of entertainment, where it was located. It was a train wreck waiting to happen, which has happened. And there've been, within the proximity, a number of shootings, and including people being severely injured in that case. Is there just no common sense at one degree? I mean, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that that's not the place for that establishment. And I'm not sure that we need that establishment anywhere in Providence, but clearly not there.
Well, it starts with, obviously, we have studied this issue to death, whether it's the Pine Report or the
Right.
Blum-Shapiro report.
So let's talk about the Pine Report just for 1 second so
Okay.
everybody understands it. The city council hired former Rhode Island Attorney General Jeff Pine to come in and look at this issue and the problems. He was paid significant sum, came back with a very detailed report.
Correct.
Everybody didn't necessarily agree with all aspects of his recommendations, but they were forward-thinking, they were reform-oriented, and that report went
Nowhere.
absolutely nowhere.
Right, because the bottom line is you can do as many studies as you want. If you are not of the mindset to enforce all of this information that has been given to us ad nauseum, it sort of is the definition of insanity. You know,
But let's just go back to it.
Okay.
He was hired by the city council. The city council makes the laws in the city. The city council can make whatever decisions they can control the budget, they can make staffing decisions. Why were, most of those things were legislative recommendations. Some of them were administrative, but why weren't city council people who talk about those actually didn't do anything? And they've yet to do anything. They have committee powers, they have subpoena powers. There have been no hearings on the Pine Report. Why aren't they holding hearings?
Okay, in fairness, there was a Muni Ops committee that I participated in for, let's just say 2 years.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it comes down to politics because those people,
Who's those people?
the city council,
Okay.
the mayor, anyone who is appointed, elected,
Yep.
those people have to worry about basically their jobs. Okay. So at the end of the day,
But let me just tell you, we don't get a lot of public contacting us saying that club owners that have been shut down are being treated unfairly. Once in a while we will, but for the most part, people are like, why is there no enforcement? Why is there no regulation? Why isn't the city doing anything? So I just want to go back to that. Former Attorney General comes back with ideas. Why isn't the city council taking action?
okay, so the city council, as I understand it, yes, can control the purse, but in fact, they can't control appointments. So
They can veto them.
yeah, that's if you have 10 votes.
No.
Well,
No, you need 8 to pass.
right.
So it's a no-go.
That's to overturn a veto. Okay,
It's not a veto. You're just turning them down.
I totally get it. Let me give you a perfect example.
Sure.
There are now, let's say, officially still 2 vacancies. Okay. The mayor makes a recommendation, has to go before the finance committee,
Right.
not once but twice.
Right.
Okay. Recently, 2 of these people went before the finance committee. Finance committee, 5 people. Okay. Pass them on to the full council.
Yeah.
Full council passes them on. Gotta
Approves
go
them.
Approves them.
Yeah.
Approves them. Now, certain city council people got up and spoke eloquently why certain of those people should not have been reappointed. I and other members from the public also spoke about why certain people should not have been reappointed rather.
Okay, who are those people? We're a news organization.
Well,
who are the two?
the two in question,
Yeah.
one was a fresh appointment.
Yeah.
His name is Peter Mancini.
Yeah.
He is, from what I understand, retired, did
Yeah.
not know him before, but apparently was at one point on the city council
Yep.
and the president of the city council.
Correct.
Okay. The other person is Delia Rodriguez Mechuan, and I'm probably mispronouncing it, but she is on, I'm pretty sure, her third rotation of this. 3 years ago, I spoke against her
Being
at her last reappointment. Okay. So, here's what it comes down to. If you look at the 12 maybe worst cases in the last 12 months,
Yeah.
okay, we asked the administrator's office to come up literally with the files that showed what the voting record was of the specific commissioners on those cases. Okay, guess what? Couldn't come up with those records. Okay, so that gives you a sense of the level of disarray of the files in the administrator's office.
Yeah.
Okay, so had we had that, now I have my own records, I go to most of those
I'm bringing
hearings.
you back over here.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
so
you
sorry.
drift away.
I'm sorry for drifting. Anyway, but the reality is that if you go back to the Penthouse case, which is a really, really good one to
It's
use as an example.
simple as can be.
It was simple as can be. Why was it simple? Because here is a guy who came in, who had previously been the manager of Club Love, where there was violence, where it had been shut down. Now he leases a venue on South Water Street, the entire building, okay,
Yep.
comes in for an entertainment license.
And is granted.
Wait, which the police recommended be denied.
Right.
Okay, and what do the commissioners do? They make a motion and a second, and the people in question did that.
All right, so I want to break down some of these issues because we're kind of going from venue to venue for a
Okay.
second. City Council. Are any of the members of the City Council adamantly fighting for more controls over these different venues? Is there a consistent group of members of the City Council that people can look to for leadership, and correspondingly, those who are not, put pressure on them to understand? Because we understand that, you know, everybody's sort of galvanized and the political power of the city is on the east side, but this isn't the only neighborhood that's
Correct.
suffering through. Now, there's some places in which a club does not have much impact from a nightly standpoint, may not be well run, may have crime, but it doesn't have an impact on its neighbors per se.
Quality of life.
Quality of life. You know, Allen's Avenue has been sort of designated,
Correct.
you know, whatever you want to call it, the free zone of whatever goes on. And it doesn't impact people's lives. They're not woken
Correct.
up in the middle of the night. But a lot of other neighborhoods are. So are there members of the council who are fighting the good fight? And are there members of the council who just aren't listening to anybody?
Let's just say that my experience has been that the members of the council who are willing to stand up for their constituents and the city of Providence are few and far between.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
Okay.
And it's the old you can't legislate morality.
Yeah.
So the only way we fix this is if we can't fix it that way, we have to go back and fix it, starting with the people who are literally on the board
Yeah.
making the decisions. That is what we have been trying to do literally
So
for the
the
last
mayor,
half dozen years.
so I'm just going to let's take it back to City Hall. The mayor
Okay.
does not seem to hear these comments, doesn't seem to hear these voices, generally doesn't comment when asked for comment from this news organization and others, does not seem to be outraged, rarely sends a representative of the mayor's office, if ever, into those hearings to make a point. That's fairly unheard of. Most mayors, if they thought that one of these operations, they'd go right down. Some cities, mayors go right down and testify on these issues. So we've got an apathetic, is that the right word? Apathetic city council?
No, I would not paint them all with the same
Okay.
brush. I would say some of them are apathetic. And remember, some of them, these things just don't happen in their neighborhoods, in fairness. So there are city council people who do not face this
Yeah.
day in and day out, whereas there are others, Federal Hill,
Yeah.
Fox Point, Jewelry District, downtown, go through the list, you know, the
Absolutely.
east side. The
Broad Street.
Broad Street, okay? over and over again, it's the same neighborhoods and it's the same small group of offenders who continue to offend, who are using our resources. And believe me, it's not because the police do not care and do not go out of their way to try to control the situation.
I
They
mean,
have
look-
zero support.
Right, so the last thing a police officer wants to do is go get in the middle of a fight outside of a club and be shot.
Correct.
I mean, 100%. Nor do they want the complaints from the neighborhood. So let's just go back a little bit. What's your suggestion on next step? I mean, I got to tell you, from a city council standpoint, I think only one time can I think of any council member sending out a press release or sending out an opinion piece to us. I mean, we must get, I don't know, 400, 500 opinion pieces a year, and I can't think of any council member speaking out about this. Oftentimes, they're afraid to speak out or unwilling to, or whatever the tie-in. What's the most important thing the public should know? Where should they put their pressure on to really effectuate change?
The mayor, the mayor, the mayor, the mayor. This is all about grassroots,
Yeah.
okay? I spoke at the College Hill Neighborhood Association. We, as neighborhoods, have gotten together to try to make
Right.
these changes, okay? The bottom line is, this is an election year,
Right.
okay? One would hope that if ever we can have some impact, it would be now. And it is not too late to impact those appointments for this year. It's not over till it's over.
So let's talk about that. Are you talking to individual council members trying to sway their vote?
All the time.
Right. And then on the mayor's side, last night, the teachers union packed City Hall for the
Correct.
state of the city, shouted him down, got a boycott from the Senate president and Senator Mary Ellen Goodwin. Representative John Lombardi boycotted the state of the city. He's a potential mayoral candidate. Are you starting to get, the teachers generated some support, are you starting to build some support from not only other neighborhood association groups, which have tremendous power, being a former city councilman? The last thing you want to do is cross swords with your neighborhood groups within your ward. Is that starting to impact the mayor's perception of what his administration is doing?
Josh, I would like to tell you that it has, but given the fact that if we just look at the recent reappointments and appointments, and from what I understand, there's another appointment soon to be made for someone who apparently is right out of law school, no business experience, no institutional knowledge, no nothing, okay? If you continue to do the same thing and
Right.
expect a different result, I think we'll be sorely disappointed. We can't seem to get across to the mayor that economic development and violence are mutually exclusive.
Well, the penthouse not only made no sense for the purposes of being in one of the most historic areas, and an area that the city over 50 years has poured hundreds of millions of dollars
Into historic preservation.
but go right across the backside of their parking lot. That's 195. We've only spent $8 billion in public funds to resurrect that and create that as the economic engine. I don't think Google, Amazon, Apple want to open up a campus in Providence, Rhode Island when there's a shooting on any given random night, when you're running your staff 24/7, 7 days a week, and people are coding till 2 o'clock in the morning on any given evening, weekend, or weekday. That's the kind of environment that they want to put their workforce in.
Correct, okay? I do a lot of work with the I-195
Yeah.
Commission. Fought fiercely, as you know, for the pedestrian bridge,
Absolutely.
finally got it funded,
Right.
okay? Park is next, okay? We, the stakeholders, are invested. Brown University actually wrote a letter on the penthouse issue. Do you know how difficult it is to get an institution to literally go public that way?
Right.
That is the level of concern and disgust that we have right now, given what's going on in the city.
Well, listen, keep up the great fight. I appreciate you coming in. I would like you to keep coming back in and keep us up to date on a regular basis, and let us know how we can get messages out. And when you send those joint letters from Neighborhood Association, CC us, and we'll be sure to take a look at those.
Terrific, Josh.
Okay, Sharon, thank you as always. One of the strongest advocates for the city of Providence. Guru, you are an unpaid position.
You
This
bet.
is just a person who's passionate about Providence. We appreciate Sharon Steele coming in. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We had food, we had DC politics, we've got Providence politics, and we've got nice things going on trying to improve schools in Rhode Island. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow is Thursday. We've got Molly O'Brien at 3 o'clock and Kate Nagel coming in at 4 o'clock. We'll also have a big celebration tomorrow, and we'll let you know about that in the morning e-blast. Thanks everybody tuning out from the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Josh Fenton.